Welcome to another episode of Elevate by Mdina Partners, Unlocking Potential, Employee Transformation Through Coaching. I'm your host, Gatt, and together with Steve, we welcome Etienne Gatt, Director of HR, PR, and Communications at the Malta Gaming Authority. And today we explore how coaching is used to empower employee transformation and, more importantly, to share some stories, some benefits, but also the challenges of coaching within the workplace. So, Etienne, I think one of the interesting things about you is your story, okay? I like that people have so many different facets. So I'm going to just ask you to introduce yourself more than the big long title with 3 parts. But what's your story yet?
Yeah, first and foremost, thanks for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be sharing the story of Malta Gaming Authority and the leadership journey that we've been going over the past years. Basically, I direct 2 teams, the human resources and the PR and communications teams at the Malta Gaming Authority. They are very different, but at the same time, very, very similar. And I would say communications is the glue between the 2 departments. And when you think about it, communications is key, is essential to leadership. I've started at the MGA 4 years ago, basically. I'm also a psychotherapist by profession. So that also aligns perfectly with the human resources element of my job and the leadership collaborations that we do throughout the organization. The MGA is quite a dynamic authority, regulator worldwide with an international footprint that is more imaginable than most, basically. So yes, the role of HR, PR, and comms is aligns perfectly with what we're doing, especially on the leadership side of the topic of today.
Super. And in fact, to me, this is interesting that we're talking about coaching, but you have that experience as a psychotherapist as well. So maybe we best start by defining it. So what is coaching to you, and possibly in parallels with all of the other things that you would, all the other interventions you might see within the MGA?
Without sounding overly romantic, coaching is where the magic happens.
Okay, I like that. So I'm a little magician.
I've been in coaching myself, so I can definitely understand the impact of coaching, and I've seen some people change, morph, transition into better leaders through coaching. For me, coaching is very much where it's an action-orientated intervention on the development side of the person. And it is an empowering tool where a person gets to feel accountable for their own development. Throughout the years, we built a coaching program, quite a robust one. We've been going for 3 years, I would say now. Yeah. And coaching is that learning module that goes beyond the classroom. And the classroom is where, the light bulb switches on. Yeah. In coaching is where we enable the development and we make it more practical for the person.
Excellent. Okay. And that's it. I think it's nice to define the difference in mentoring is possibly where we're using our experience to tell you, in my days, in my experiences, how we move forward. The training is where we tell you how to do it, kind of. We're reading it off what the theory says, but we're also talking about the application. And the coaching is where you actually, it's all about the coachee. It's all about the accountability of get this done. And that's it. I think having journeyed with you on the coaching front, you can really see, I like the term, this is where the magic happens, because it's that concluding part. So yeah.
It's the personal, because in the classroom, there's a collective learning,
Bravo.
Everyone is learning from each other. But in coaching is where you take that something that's really impacted you, or you really think that you need to develop on. And you take it in a forum where you're actually committing yourself, you're being accountable to develop and to grow.
And becomes very personal.
It is completely personal,
Yes.
It always needs to align to the organizational strategies and to the goals where we want to go, but it is always very personal.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah, definitely. And I think that's it. It's the accountability, the personal accountability is what makes it really more magical. Super. Okay. So, maybe, Etienne, if you could kind of go through a few success stories when it comes to, coaching being implemented. So you've already started on a positive note. We said it's magical. Where has the magic happened?
We have quite a lot, actually.
Amazing.
A classic one is of a person that I can think of who morphed into leadership, who developed into his leadership role. And it's always very tricky when you are part of the team and suddenly you are promoted to start
Yeah.
leading that team. So suddenly your colleagues became your reportees.
Yes.
And we have an experience of someone whose perspective onto what we call hard conversations or difficult conversations, where that it's like you are demotivating someone. And through coaching, this person transitioned and changed his perspective to have more of these hard conversations. The magic happened that his relationships with the team improved
Amazing.
the more hard conversations he was having. And even his confidence was boosted. We have a lot of public speaking, for example, situations, occasions. So this person was from, I don't want to do any public speaking, to being very forthcoming in handling public speaking engagement. And even within the team, he earned a lot of the respect of his reportees. And I think that shift in perspective couldn't have happened in the classroom where training is happening, because you assimilate the learning as, all right, these are concepts on a whiteboard or on a presentation screen. When you're doing coaching, you're actually accountable to act, see the results, go back to coaching, recalibrate, and do it again. And through this going and coming, live action, reviewing, this person was getting better and better.
Exactly that. As you touched on something that I think is valuable, it's the fact that it's a journey. With coaching, you get to, it's over a 6-month period. Usually we have gaps, so the person has that accountability to go back, waddle, touch on the topic, touch on that action, come back with the blockage, or I did this right, this is where I got stuck, and we get to correct as we go along. And I think that makes it a more personal journey, but also a lot more sustainable because of the time
Exactly,
that it takes together. And that's a beautiful success story, I think, to have shared. Steve, in your years of experience, what success stories can you think of when it comes to coaching?
There's a many I can think of, but I think first of all I've seen a dramatic increase in the awareness and the benefits of what coaching can really do for people. So one classic example I can think of, this is about 3-4 years ago, a lady who, during the sort of training in the classroom environment, struggling in terms of explaining what she feels, how, some of the role playing and that type of thing, really, really struggling with. And yet it was clear that she was a very capable lady. She was actually very good at her job, but there was elements which was to do with her confidence.
Okay.
She would struggle. She would be more passive than she would be on the assertive side. So during coaching, what you then saw, the end result of all this was that suddenly the self-esteem, the self-confidence changed for the positive. And from this group of about 8 people in this training program, she ended up to be, without doubt, as a result of this coaching, to be one of the best performers in that team.
Amazing.
And she would say, to this day, in fact, spoke to her about 2 weeks ago, she remembers very fondly that coaching was the crossroads, if you like, because she was actually thinking about changing her job completely. So.
Okay, but instead, exactly, I think it's being able to identify what the blockage is and unblocking it in that coaching process.
I think it starts with the assumption that people, they don't set out or start off to think, how can I not do things? But people really do want to do things.
Of course.
And they want to do things to the best of their ability. It's just, there are inhibitors. And I think, as Etienne was saying, in a coaching session, they're more likely to come out.
Definitely. It's safer, it's more personal. Yeah.
We can start then to put a plan together.
Yes. I think you've touched on a few very valuable points. It's one, that's it. If this individual moved anywhere else, that blockage would have still haunted her.
Yes.
So the victory of being able to get that, and I think even as a coach,
The company would have lost a very
of
good
course,
person. So
that's it.
potentially. So.
Definitely. So the investment there was very much valued. And that's, I think, as a coach, being able to give somebody that gift, being able to, it's really the gift of silence more often than not until they're ready to come out with that blockage.
I'm sure we'll have a more articulate way of expressing. I think it's like getting people to look in the mirror.
Yes.
And because it's on a one-to-one basis, they're more likely to be willing to do that. Still, it's difficult sometimes.
For sure.
They're more likely to do that than they are in a group of 8 people.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying, that the
one is better than the other.
In fact,
actually,
I'm saying that for effective classroom training, it does need an element of coaching to support it. Yes. Without doubt, you can see the difference in results.
Yes. And that's it. I think even within the MJ, that's how it does work. It's not coaching on its own. I mean, in my experience, at least, there is the hand in hand. There's the training aspect. Actually, I think you really look at employees from a real 360 view and give them every little bit of support they can get. So I'm going to turn back to you, Etienne. You've also been coached. What are so we've touched on the timing that is valuable, the fact that it's one-on-one. What were the magic moments for you? I'm going to keep using your term now. What were the magic moments for you when it comes to your experience as a coachee?
I think Steve compared coaching to looking in the mirror, and that is extremely important. I mean, throughout the day-to-day, you get to go at a tremendous pace. You're constantly working, producing, So coaching is that moment where you have an hour and a half, where you're actually dedicating it to yourself to look at in the mirror and challenge your perspectives and what you're doing.
Yes.
So many times we keep recycling our behaviors, we keep recycling our decisions. And through coaching, I had a couple of, light bulb moments where,
oops.
It is like when your mother passes on a recipe and there's an ingredient that she changes and you keep doing a new recipe differently and you think that you're doing it the correct way, And it's the same with coaching and with leadership. So when you are introduced to a different way of doing things, sometimes we have very simple questions. Are you sure? Is that the only way you can look at it? Can you force yourself for a second to look at it from a different perspective? And these questions help you a lot to anchor yourself a little bit more to the ground and say, all right, okay, so what learning do I need to learn in order to start something new? Because obviously if we keep repeating the same formula, we'll keep getting the same results.
Totally.
And that is fundamental in coaching, to be ready to be challenged. And Steve mentioned sometimes through going through difficult moments in coaching. It's important to have those difficult moments. It's important to feel like I'm sweating it out.
Uncomfortable.
The feeling uncomfortable is extremely important because that means that you're shedding your skin in order to gain a bigger, a new improved shell, so that you can withstand more difficulties along your journey.
Yes, I think that's it. Those coaching moments where the silence is more uncomfortable, where you see facial expressions that of discomfort. It's the mold is cracking, and
let's face
the
it,
unlearning.
We don't get to stop. During our day-to-day, we just go from one meeting to another, from one decision to another, from one interaction to another, always thinking that we're doing it right.
Yes,
I think that's a great point about that you're taking an hour and a half.
It's your cocoon. You're going there, and
it's yours. Everything's about you, which is people just don't do enough of that.
No. I think that it needs to be a perpetual coaching relationship that you should have, similar to counseling. So in counseling and psychotherapy, I think that we need to constantly be in having that 1 hour to ourselves. And even in coaching, we always have something to learn. Sometimes you need to stop so that you recalibrate, but we always have something to improve, to master, to change. Even though if you've mastered the skill, when you change the context or the people you're managing, or the people you're relating to, or you're negotiating with, you have to change something, you know? It's the context that demands it out of you. So we need to keep developing.
And I think if I can add to that, apart from just the needing to develop, sometimes, from my experience, at least as a coach, it's also taking that moment to identify what you are doing very well as well, and to celebrate, which we also, I find even more as time passes, don't do.
Yes.
You know, taking even after training, taking that personal moment to go, these are my commitments, and this is how I'm going to make sure it actually happens, rather than the investment was made in me and life goes on.
And research has told us that people really value reward. And by reward, we move away from the monetary value, and people are asking more of the intrinsic value of the reward systems. And at the MGA, we have created policies so that managers and the organization can reward employees on their valued contribution outside of the traditional performance bonus. And that creates a culture of meaning, you know, that you're doing something and that you're being recognized, you're being seen, and you're being told thank you for going the extra mile or for doing something great.
Brilliant. So if we have to turn the tables around now for the MGA, who do a fair amount of investment when it comes to employees, again, in a holistic, so there's training, I know there's also counseling that you offer, a lot given to the employees. Where do you get it back? How have you calculated the return on investment on all of this?
There are multiple points where you can measure the value that you reap from coaching. And there are the qualitative and the quantitative side of it. We run a yearly engagement survey where we get extremely good results. Last year we won the Employer of Choice Award, for example, with Esprimi as well. So we do have a yearly survey that we calculate. And one of the domains that we look at is the leadership effectiveness. That is paramount, you know, because if you have good leadership effectiveness, the MGA message, the values, the strategic objectives are cascaded down efficiently. Obviously, we have room for improvement, but we do pretty well there. We also have our retention indicators, such as the turnover rate, which is very, very good, I would say.
And it's not an easy industry you're working in.
It's not an easy industry, and especially
you compete quite a fair bit.
You're competing with a highly dynamic industry. And then you have the qualitative element, so the output, the team output. You also have the performance reviews, and you see people, and you feel the culture, you feel the rhythm on the day-to-day, and you can see people. We are very active, also HR function, where we constantly are with people, we're constantly present. So you do get indicators here and there to understand how well we're doing. We also organize targeted pulse surveys throughout the year. That helps from a leadership effectiveness point of view to understand how well we are doing.
The real
and they would be
temperature.
thematically. We also have 360 feedback. So the 360 feedback, the qualitative side really helps to measure the pulse, to get a good understanding of what's happening.
Brilliant. And that's great to hear, because as in, it's true that the investment is really there, but even probably from the outside, I can say I've seen, I think if there's a word I would put to the culture, it's that curiosity. It's, even though you really look at people at the MGA who are non-stop and there's a lot of movement, that curiosity to learn, that coaching is now also requested from managers. So it's not this. I think what you did well is it's not enforced from an HR point of view. It's not a strategy that's HR. It's really cultural, and the coaching culture is not easy to have created. So I think you've done well.
We are a very learning orientated organization. We invest a lot in our people. And we build our competitive advantage, if you will, as a regulator on being a competent regulator, which is not easy because the industry is a fairly technical industry. So we need to be there and we need to align with the industry and be a step ahead as a forward-thinking regulator. And that is what you earn the respect as a robust and serious regulator. And that only stems from the competence and from the knowledge that your people have.
Yes.
And unless we invest our people, unless we give them the tools to perform and to be better at their job and to enable other people, we cannot grow in competence.
No.
We cannot say we are a competent regulator if we are not investing in our people.
Totally.
And as you're saying, people are now becoming forthcoming. Can I get coaching?
Exactly. This is so impressive.
That's something that we love,
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so we've looked at the benefits and we've looked at the ROI, but now when it comes to the challenges, what has been difficult in really getting this coaching culture so strong?
I think the biggest challenge is identifying the goal. Sometimes we underestimate how important it is to pin down a well-articulated goal. So we always start with, I want this, but this many times is fragmented down.
Okay.
So having a good goal, a good and tangible goal is extremely
translatable.
Important. And sometimes it is not easy to pin it down and to make it translatable, as you're saying. Then again, there is also another challenge, which is pairing the right coach with the coachee. So forming a tandem that works is everything.
Yes, you're right.
And this is a relationship. So coaching is successful. I mean, it's the success of the relationship, how good the relationship is directly proportionate to how well the coaching outcome will be achieved.
Yes.
So that is very, very, very important.
Yes.
So I would say framing the goal, having a good tangible goal, and pairing the right coach with the coaching. So those are the main challenges.
I think you've pinned it again. I'm just a little pointer there, but I value that you are someone who kind of goes, no, I need this type of coach. I need someone who's really action oriented. And I mean, for me, it's also lovely because you use our PRISM technology, terminologies, which is this person is red. Give me someone red. And that, even as someone who has been coached myself, I value that. I don't feel like I can coach everybody, and it's good that you've identified who needs to.
Because as an organization, and as you're saying in PRISM, and PRISM was an excellent tool to also gain the acceptance of people who might be a bit skeptical, because you always have these people in the organization.
Yes.
That talent development will not translate an improvement in the bottom line. But by showing the PRISM, by making it a bit more tangible with others, you can make it even more even more translatable, more relatable to employees with different language. And we now have teams who say, because we're all red, or we need some red here.
Brilliant.
So that really helps.
Amazing.
Really helps.
It's good to hear. Excellent. So Steve, coming to you. Because we might have some coaches as well listening in, and with all of your experience, I think, and I've learned a lot of the coaching methodologies I use through yourself. So what would be kind of the methodologies that you really find, the frameworks that you really find,
Okay, I mean, I think Etienne covered two of them.
Yes.
So, which is the first one is what are we actually trying to achieve? So what's the goal in order to rather than just can you sit down with Harry for
it's true, entertain him.
Because I don't think he's doing very well. I mean, that's not what I call an objective. So a clear goal in the first place. Secondly is to make sure that the coach is relevant. So there's got to be trust, I think, and a relationship between the two people concerned here. And the third one would be to get to the core. I think so often in management and indeed in coaching and training, we're dealing with symptoms when we should be really addressing the cause of what is happening. So, so in a person, if we're trying to, for example, increase that lady's self-esteem, as the example, we've got to get to the cause of why that self-esteem is low in the first place. And that
Yes.
could be a whole range of causes. But then, and then the coaching can start to come up with the solutions for that.
Yes.
And I think all the coaches would know that are listening to this is then it's all about the relationship building and the questioning and the ability to listen to what people are actually saying, stroke meaning, stroke
Yes.
insinuating. So,
Yeah.
that's
Excellent. Yes, I think you've touched on a few really key points, so it's good to bring them back to the front of focus. Okay, so bringing this together, although we could probably continue talking about this for hours and hours, but possibly we have a little bit less of people's attention. How does all of this, so your investment in coaching, align with the strategy for the MGA when it comes to taking care of people?
I think nowadays, unfortunately, it's a cliche that you have to invest in people because they are the core of the organization. But they truly are, especially when you're talking about Malta, where the talent market is so saturated. It's so difficult to attract people and good quality people. Retention is key. It's fundamental for business continuity and for succession planning. So the importance of coaching aligns a lot with the organization where we want to go.
Yeah.
It's safe to say that as a public regulator, we may not be the first preference for employees to join us, but we're beating that, we're overcoming that by how much we invest in people. And as I said earlier, I mean, we base our success on how competently we regulate and how much we listen to the industry. And that can only achieved by the quality of people you have and by how much you develop them. Yes. So you can't have the one without the other.
Yes.
So it perfectly aligns. And the most important thing is we have perfect alignment. If not, I mean, it comes from the top. Invest in people, So the message is really coming from all corners of the organization to keep investing in our people.
Yes. And where you would usually say exactly you think that it's a static space to be, you've maintained that curiosity in individuals to keep growing and to be alive with the theme of what MJ does. It's a very alive industry.
Undoubtedly. As you said, we're very curious. We constantly want to grow, and that's that. I mean, it's
a perfect reflection.
Really nice to work in an environment where you are pushed, because one element of coaching that maybe we did not touch with is that the growth of an individual triggers the growth of another individual, because you're working with a team that is growing, and when someone else is growing, your colleague is growing, you need to up your game. So that you can measure up. So coaching has a multiplier effect on many counts.
Brilliant. Okay, so I think with that, I'm happy to close off today, where we got to speak about the magic of coaching. I'm going to use this now. I'm a magician. So thank you for joining us for another episode of Elevate. Thanks for listening to us, and we hope that you join us for the next episode next month. If you have enjoyed it, please stay subscribed. We truly believe that the journey to success is even better when shared. Until next time, thank you and take care.